I, not too late, thank God, unlike the strength that is coming. I've not forgotten. Let me tell you kind of weekend we've had. Part of my wardrobe today, I would like to dedicate it to Oregon Trail. I don't know if y'all seen, but Apple Arcade has released an updated intersectional non-offensive version of the Oregon Trail, which the Native Americans did not consider an adventure, but an invasion, as they kindly noted. And it's addictive. It's every bit as addictive as the original version. And I'm not going to lie, y'all, my kids and I spent about 3.5 hours playing it last night. We made it to Fort Laramie and then had problems with cholera. So Wyoming, I don't know if you still got those issues with cholera, but maybe that's why Kanye West has moved back to LA. Who knows? Just kidding. Just saying. Oregon Trail, if you have not played it lately, don't start tonight, because especially if you have to work tomorrow. I know I'm going to be like heading out with my husband a little bit later, and we'll probably be playing it again. But again, I do sincerely apologize for the lateness of strength. It was a thing I intended to do yesterday, had on my clothes to do it. And then, of course, Violet decides to swallow, or at least spill, a bottle of pills and tell us that they were yucky. So, which indicates that she might have eaten one or two. And we spent the day worried with her in the ER, only to find out, yes, there was nothing in her stomach, because none of our children have ever swallowed anything that didn't taste yummy. And we're grateful for that, but it was a real long day in the Fleming household. So strength demos, at least for Monday, are coming tonight. I will break them down and explain everything. But first, I'm going to break down and explain, where I'm just going to answer these questions. I got nothing else to explain, but I do have fabulous new earrings, and I'm going to have to put on my glasses to see them. This is part of my Mother's Day gift, and I'm a little bit in love. So if you have any other questions to ask as we go, feel free to put those in the comments, and I'll respond. This can be interactive if you would like it to be. Counting up the weekly wins, Dan Faltyn. I don't know if y'all saw, but he had a really amazing race. He ran a great 8K race with a real life finish line. Congratulations on that. I don't think we have those yet here in Denver. He said he was totally stoked. His last race was at 6:45 pace, and he shaved it down to 6:29. That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Even better, he's so much less tired than he was the last 3 races afterwards, which means we're doing something right when it comes to nutrition and recovery. I'm real excited about that. So you might be real fast, Dan, but you are still slower than Makenna Myler. I'm going to put this link in here for you. New mom runs a 15:45 5K, 4-minute 42-second mile, just months after birth of her first child. But seriously, F her. Congratulations and F her. Both can be true. Both are true in this case. There you go. Congratulations to her. Congratulations to Dan. I don't think I'll be that fast ever again, and I'm okay with that, because days like today where the baby falls asleep on me, I'm not going to have many of those left. I'm taking them as they come, and I'm not moving, even though I stink and I'm sweating. Oh my gosh, you guys have no idea what I smell like right now. It's really, really, really bad. I was wearing a sweater when the baby fell asleep on top of me. Anyway, here we go. So we're sending healing thoughts to Sarah Seberg and Aaron White. They both came down with COVID-19, and we are wishing them speedy recoveries, hoping that everybody is doing well there. Also thinking of Coach Kavlin, who got bitten by a yellow fly. Didn't know that was a thing. They're a thing, and they're a thing that she happens to be allergic to. Her foot is still swollen, but she has been able to move around this week. And you'll see her in sunburn. Yeehaw. Heading on to the questions on this Mother's Day. Hi, Coach. I've been struggling lately with debilitating joint pain, especially upon waking. Ouch. I'm stuck shuffling around for the first half hour to an hour after getting up because I can't straighten my spine or articulate my ankles. Every step hurts. I can't open or close my hands without severe pain. It gets better as the day goes on, but it never seems to go away. I'm only in my 30s, but I feel like a 100-year-old grandma. The obvious solution is to go to the doctor, but the doctor says I'm being overly dramatic and I'm not sick. So I'm not sick, but I'm not well. Any suggestions that might help? Number one, fuck that doctor. Seriously, that's not okay. That's never okay. I would love to help you find a new one that is a little bit less of a misogynist and is willing to do their job of medicine, which is kind of like being, I don't know, Indiana Jones. Yeah, being around people is dangerous, but the discovery is part of the adventure. So do your job, doctors, and diagnose. What this sounds like to me is, as someone who suffers from, lives with celiac syndrome, which is an autoimmune disorder, it sounds like what you have is autoimmune related. In countries with privatized health, like, or public health, like Canada and the UK, a lot of autoimmune diseases are not taken as seriously or treated as seriously by primary care physicians as they should be, which is not to say that we're good, but this is one area where America has gotten on board a lot faster. So if you're not in America, that's kind of a separate issue of how you would go about it. But here, like, obviously I would say probably your next step would be a naturopath. But here, if this issue you're having, let's find you another primary care physician who's willing to do their job and take a look. We are aware of all kinds of things now that we couldn't quite diagnose before, like rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis. Ankylosing spondylitis sounds a lot like this. And it's a weird, I'm going to spell it out here because it's like really hard to spell. So I misspelled it, but that's pretty close to it. It's ankylosing spondylitis. And that it's an autoimmune disorder. It is not specifically a joint issue. It's an autoimmune disorder that presents in the joints, being the key difference. So a joint doctor might not know what to do with you, or that would be a step further. So if we can go directly to an autoimmune disease specialist or to a GP who works with a really good one and is willing to make that referral, that would be a terrific place to start, because this is completely unacceptable. Little things that we can do. I'm afraid to tell you anything, honestly, because again, I'm not a doctor, but you're not being a baby, and you're not overly dramatic. This is real. Fuck that guy or woman. Fuck them. This is not okay. And it's completely not acceptable. You are not dramatic. And I don't need to know exactly who wrote this to know that. You are not overly dramatic. Your doctor's a butthead. Ugh. So the first suggestion is find a new doctor. Number 2, start looking at some of these autoimmune disorders online and see if maybe there's a good doctor reputable in your area that you get a recommendation for. But also you could see a lot of tips for what helps soothe. The kid I used to babysit is wild as it may seem, is now part of a group called the Try Guys. They're comedy, and I think they did viral stuff at BuzzFeed for a while. And it just freaked me out every time I'd see them, like, not connected to their mother in my Facebook feed. But one of the Try Guys, the only reason I know anything about ankylosing spondylitis is that one of his partners in the Try Guys has it, and has 2 really amazing videos about how he went about getting diagnosed and how he's doing now. So I would kind of check that out, because he sounded a whole lot like you people. Like, he ran the gamut, and all the doctors were like, "You're fine," which is not normal. And it's not, and he wasn't fine. And it sounds like neither are you. So let's start with those 2, rheumatoid arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis, and move from there. But we can't, while we look for a brand new primary care physician. In Maintain, hello, coach with the most. Boop, boop. In the Maintain program, I notice that every month we reset the long run on Saturday. For the last 2 months, I haven't been doing that. Rather, I've been increasing the distance every week by about 10%. That's totally fine. Because my distances are getting pretty long at this point, I'm only doing this every other week. So as an example, 3 Saturdays ago, I ran for 3 hours. 2 Saturdays ago, I just did the normal run. Last Saturday, I ran for 3:30. This Saturday, I plan to do a shorter race. Next Saturday, I'm planning on taking up to 3:45. Obviously, there's the listen to the body factor, but is this increase sustainable? I would argue yes, it very much is. The 10% rule is kind of made up. What I would look at is your ramp rate. So if you have a premium subscription to Training Peaks, you can go into it and set up. I think we have a tutorial about this on the YouTube channel. If you can't find it, let me know. But the ramp rate is really the most important thing to look at. And that's the percentage that you're increasing over time, how much the rate at which you're ramping up. Normally coaches only look at this. If I'm training somebody one-on-one, I want to make sure the ramp rate tells me if I'm pushing them too hard, because maybe everything's fine and we're doing 10%, 10%, 10% all the way down the line. And then I'm like, I look and I see that the ramp rate is 23. And I'm like, whoa, that's way too high. A normal type of ramp rate in a month is about 4 or 5. Anything over 7 is pretty aggressive. I would do that for like an elite who's tuning up for a competitive race. I would do it. We would go above 7 in a few circumstances, but very, very few, and never with basically any of the athletes in fitness protection. So that's just a number to keep in mind. You are probably not above that though, if you've been looking at, if you've been doing what you say you do, which sounds fine to me. I'm trying to pull up my own training peaks right here so you can see what the ramp rate chart looks like, but it should be in. So you open it up, it looks like that. Then you go to your calendar, and at the calendar, you've got views up here for different charts. I go into the calendar, I go into the chart view, and that's the first thing I look at. So my ramp rate for the last 7 days is a -3. We don't look at those big 2 numbers. We don't care about those on the top. That's the math that spits this out. We look at the numbers. So the last 7 days is a -3. Last 30 days is a -30. And the last 28 days is -16. So I'm ramping down, not up right now. And that's fine. I haven't been running as much as usual. I've been on a bike, an indoor bike, and it is unable to calculate power output because that's a flaw of Peloton to training peaks, which is why a lot of people who ride indoor bikes a lot use Zwift instead, ZWIFT, and then push to training peaks because of proper read of power output. But broadly and generally speaking, that still holds. This is what you would look at. That's where I would go first. So as long as, number one, your 7-day and 28 ramp rates do not exceed 10, you're probably fine. If you feel fine, then you're probably fine. The question really then kind of comes up to how long do you want to go? And what do you need to get out of it? So if the day comes that you're doing like a 7-hour long run, I'm not going to have anything to say about it. But the reason that the 2.5-hour block exists the way it does here, and the 90-minute starting point exists the way it does here, comes down to science. So that your cardiovascular system is designed to help you like efficiently metabolize oxygen, obviously. But the training benefits of time spent in an aerobic zone, zones 3 or 2, that kind of maxes out, and then the law of diminishing returns kicks in and starts decreasing at an increasing rate at around the 2.5-hour mark. Another reason that exists is for a lot of elite athletes, they don't expect to be in the marathon longer than 2.5 hours. And as a matter of fact, 2.5 hours would mean something has gone completely wrong for them because they're so much faster than that. So why would your long run need to be longer than your predicted marathon finish time is another good question. Is there any benefit to that? And we know that answer is a sound hard no. So are there any downsides to it? If it's what you want to do and you feel good doing it, I'm not going to tell you to stop that. When things start to get egregiously long, we might want to look at other types of events, though, so that you have somewhere to take that fitness, and make sure, as long as you're getting regular checks up, physicals with your doctor, and make sure that you're not completely stressing out your system, then you're good. And we're looking at not just that run, but we're looking at aggregate, how much stress you're putting on your body each week. For example, if you were to do sunburn, I would sit, and I really hope you do, I would sit down with you and we would talk a little bit about how to adjust the runs so that you could keep doing that. But all of the runs really are going to be pretty gentle in sunburn, to make room for all of the strength that we're going to do, because this is a real strength heavy program we're taking on a lot. So slow burn has real specific prescribed runs, and we're just not going to do that right now. I am not fit enough to do them. If someone is and they want to, I'm happy to talk with them, but I've designed sunburn to be like, hey, guess what? If you haven't been doing anything for a while, like me, outside, like me, and you've been lax about strength, this girl, then this is a way that we could all kind of get back on the same page and come back in together and get back into a strength habit, a strength routine, and work all of the muscles in our body simultaneously. So if you were doing something like that, there's a program like sunburn that is then we would need to talk about how long your long runs are, but it's not like I'm going to tell you to stop. It's going to be like, okay, well, if you would be hitting 7 hours, could we maybe like hold back, like dial it back to 4 and finish sunburn before we start ramping up again? That's it. So it's never a no. It's how do we do this carefully and safely and get everything that we want to get out of it. And as far as downsides go, if your ramp rates are in check and you feel fine, things are pretty good. And it sounds like you're racing real good. So I'm guessing this is Dan, because I saw the 22-mile, or is this Alicia? I don't know. I saw a 22-mile long run on someone's Strava over the weekend, and I was like, why are you running that far? But I think that because I haven't run that far in a really long time. This is maintained, right? My ultimate goal is to be prepared to do a marathon. I feel with this type of preparation, I can keep it up by the summertime. I'd be able to do a marathon every 2 weeks. In the spirit of maintain, is that actually maintainable? Yes. Should I consider taking it at some point, taking a month or two and dial it back for a while? I say don't. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Be really honest with yourself about how you feel and check in with your partner if you have one. This could be a running buddy, a work wife, an actual in your home type of building a life together, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever. Have them check in with you too, because one of the first signs of overtraining, it doesn't present in the ramp rate. It's by the time we see it in the numbers, it's too late. You are overtrained. One of the things that I'm always looking for, and the reason I tell all of my clients to use that post-activity training comments box as a training log, and I don't care what you write, but you got to write something after every single workout. Better to have nothing to say and have to stretch and make it up than to have something really nasty to say. And all I'm looking for when I go back and read those is, frankly, your attitude. Because if your attitude starts to suck or get a little hostile or a little aggressive, then that's, and it happens and it's subtle. But when you go from, yay, nothing bad to report, to like, what do you want me to say? I'm like, ooh, okay, that's a change. That's a change. The hormonal shift that comes when you're overtrained and the fatigue is starting to set in. So that as a double check, have the people around you let you know if you're starting to get, a case of the Mondays 24/7, if you're a little grumpier than usual, if you are fatigued and you don't see it, or you pretend like you can't feel it because you're just so darn proud of what you've been doing. As long as you have some sort of a gut check or a double check around you that's really effective, that would be my only concern, that we could find it. And that's your cue to dial it back long before we see it in the numbers. By the time we see it in the numbers, we have to dial back. And I don't know when we're going to be able to ramp it up again, which is not to say that we can't, but this is why it's so important to listen to your body. When your body says slow down, your body says back up, you've got to do that, because by the time you are forced to do that, you're going to have to wait twice as long, 3 times as long to ramp it back up again. Because the hormone, and this might, I'll end on that, the hormone out of whackness that comes from overtraining can take months to heal, which is hard. It really can take months. So let's not go there if we don't have to. But again, TLDR, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This sounds fine. Please do sunburn. If you don't do sunburn, this is still fine. And I wrote this with the thought that we would have people who, I'm just going to name her Karen Schluter. She is a badass and she's really aggressive and she really likes racing and she's hard on herself. I could easily see her doing 2 marathons a year for performance, no matter what I say, and then trying to knock out some PRs in a half marathon to see where she is along the way. So this plan, Maintain, was written with her in mind so that she could do all the aggressive things she wanted to do and not overtrain. And also with, say, a Sarah Seberg in mind, who really likes lifting heavy things. God knows why I don't, but I respect her right to like what she likes. And I wanted to make sure that she would have the option that she could, do the running that she wants to do and have room to lift all the heavy things and not get overtrained. So make this program what you need it to be, and I'm always happy to help you sort it out. But I see no problems there. I kind of dig it. I miss being fit enough that I could go run for 3.5, 4 hours and not think twice. Hey, coach, next question on stride length. I actually can't rationalize this. Is it better to have a long stride or a shorter stride? It doesn't matter. So there are lots of things, lots of metrics that matter to track coaches. Because, think about the 100-meter dash or the 100-meter sprint. There are about 16 steps in a 100-meter sprint. So every step really counts. And that's where foot strike really kind of comes in. How much power are we generating? And are your hamstrings able to deliver every single time your booty pushes? There's a lot that goes into that, that us mortals don't really need. And foot strike matters less and less over long periods because it's a function of strength. Form is always a function of strength. And it's because it's a biomechanical reaction to where your body is. So trying to change your stride length or your foot strike is about as unnatural as it gets. That's a last resort after we've done everything else. It's not the first thing we look at. So it could be a clue for me as a coach. If you come to me and I can't see you running in person, then I can take a look at like your vertical oscillation for your left foot versus your right foot and can triangulate that with your stride length. And it's going to tell me if you have any glute strength. That's about, and you could be really fast and still not be using your glutes, which means like, hey, if we turn those on, imagine how much faster you could be, that sort of thing. So in and of itself, I don't think stride length matters, especially to distance runners. And even though like an 8K or a 5K still seems short, technically that's distance. Anything over, really over like a mile and a half, that's considered middle distance. So just to give you an idea. So male, 45, 6 feet tall. I'm a Cancer, if that matters. My girlfriend was filming me in this weekend's race, and she said, and it showed to people around me, that I have a very long stride. That just means that you're powerful, and that I'm guessing that if this was at the point where you saw her, you were probably pushing to go a little bit faster, either for yourself to impress her, or you were just working really hard. The other thing comes from if you were running on a trail. So if you're running really hard on a trail, you are going to take bigger steps because you're trying to generate more power. Every time your foot hits a hard packed surface like a road, it's actually less work because you've got energy return, Newton's third law of motion. You've got that energy return back into your foot that'll reverberate all the way back up your leg. You get less of that when you're running on dirt and less still when you're running on scree. So that means you're going to be hitting the ground harder with your feet, planting more, and to propel yourself forward. So if you were running on a road and it was abnormally long and you weren't sprinting, I'd be like, that's just not sustainable. But we would probably only have that conversation if you were bonking. And I'd be like, well, look, you were definitely going faster than your body was ready to go at mile 21 of the race. Look how wide your stride is. Look how you're hunched over. You look like you're sprinting. So that's kind of where I don't think there's any need to optimize it whatsoever because I'm not really seeing a problem here. There is a lot of marketing out there that is science-based. It's truth versus truthiness. And there's a lot of good sounding truthiness out there that's like, oh, well, that sounds logical. But just because it's in your Garmin doesn't mean that it's more data is more better. And you know me, I'm a data person. I went to Wharton. I like numbers as much as the next person. But numbers have also, there's this pseudo-intellectual nonsense side to them where if you don't understand it, then you're too stupid. So people just say, oh, yes, no, I agree. It's completely important. Take it and run without questioning what they're being sold. I will always be that troublemaker who questions, do I really need this? And I'll always be that person that knows which data points I really want to focus on, which are going to make me feel good and which are going to enhance my experience and propel me forward. Weight's not one of those numbers. And neither is stride length. So go back and think real hard about what you were doing in that moment. And if I'm totally off, it sounds like, again, like you were working really hard, you were on a trail, you were booking it. Yeah, your stride length's going to be a little bit longer, especially if you were sprinting to the finish line. If that's the way you're running at the beginning of the race or all the time, I'd have a hard time believing it just because your body's not going to let you. It's really inefficient. And if it was that inefficient, you wouldn't be running these races successfully. Okay. In 6 weeks, I'm doing my first mountain race. It is 7.5 miles, 4,650 vertical feet, 22% max grade. What can I do to help prepare myself? Holy God. very little with 6 weeks to go. What kind of strength can I add into my routine, and what kind of hill workouts or treadmill workouts can I do? So my first concern here is that above 6% railroad grade, you got to be good with walking, because it's biomechanically more efficient to walk briskly than run at that slope. And at 22%, you're going to be crawling. And so more than preparing your body, we need to prepare your mind for what that's going to do. I would, rather than be trying to like run uphill, or do any that sort of workout, I would say, let's save your energy. Let's do some drills to warm up before each run. Running in place, high knees in place, is really terrific. Finding a hill and then doing high knees up that hill for just like 10 seconds, that can be helpful too. And all that's going to do is engage your booty. It's going to help you work on that turnover. But again, don't overthink it. The biggest hurdle is going to be the mental one of having to walk so much, because this sounds really, really hard. This sounds like everything in Colorado Springs that I don't do, as a matter of principle. But just get used to speed walking. Make sure that your glutes are activated. So when you're doing the jogging in place, or the high knees in place as a part of your warm-ups and part of the drill, I would also do the chair test, and I do have a demonstration of that on the YouTube channel. And all I want you to do is exactly that. Try to levitate out of the chair on one. I'm wearing a skirt, otherwise I'd show y'all. But you go, if you can find that video, I'm sure Erin will find it because she's good like that, and post the link. But you want to try to lift your entire body without leaning forward out of the chair. Just rising up on that one glute on both sides. Practicing that for a minute, 30 seconds on each side every day. That can be all it takes to get your glutes really engaged, because here's the final piece. It takes 2 weeks for the benefit of any workout to sink in. So with 6 weeks to go, plus a taper, that's only really 3 weeks of work. And in that time, I fear that we'd run the risk of either overtraining, trying too hard, or hurting ourselves, which is then going to make this experience miserable. And I'd much rather you do more subtle things that'll have a bigger impact, and while you mentally wrap your head around what 22% railroad grade is going to feel like, because it's hard. It's really hard. If you have access to something like the Manitou Incline, which we have, it's a mile straight up. It's in Colorado Springs. Go walk that. If you have something really steep near you, go hike that. Incorporate that into your workout. So again, mentally, you're good with what you have to do when you have to slow down and walk. Pay attention to your heart rate. Like, at what point am I forced to walk? Or do I need to just say, okay, my heart rate's like 156. This is really steep. I've got a long way to go. I'm kidding myself. Let's just walk. Find that point where you're like, okay, I'm cutting it and I'm walking and I'm good with that, and stick to that so that you have some semblance of a race plan. If you want to talk a little bit more one-on-one about it, let me know. But I would say, like, I'm just afraid that hill workouts or anything really aggressive and intense with only 6 weeks to go would do more harm than good. So what we can do is make sure that your glutes are firing, that you are used to lifting your feet a lot and landing on your forefoot, and that we've had a little bit of practice at the steepest percentages that we can find, either in hiking or in jogging anywhere physically close to your home. So if that doesn't sound good enough, or you want to talk it out more, do let me know. But I'm the person who will never do more than I have to. And anything I do, there better be something to show for it at the end. And I would hate to have you do any sort of aggressive workout if it's not realistically going to do any good, or the marginal benefits just outweigh the cost, don't outweigh the costs. So that's how I feel about that. If that's not the answer you wanted, I'm sorry, but I'm totally happy to talk it out. Can you talk a little bit more about how the strength demos will happen in sunburn? It would be super helpful if they were they were up by a set time each day. I struggled a bit with not knowing if or when the demos would be up. That's fair. It's totally fair. So the system that we've worked out, at first I thought that people preferred live. And what I've come to realize is that people just want consistent. So the videos are all going to be pre-taped, and they're going to go up with they're going to go up, and then I'm going to have backups. So it won't just be just me doing everything. I'm going to have a set routine that I'm splitting up with Coach Nakia and Coach Susan, so that everybody has a little something. And I've got, because I just didn't want to admit, I think then or now, how much of a liability Violet is. And I love her and she's cute, but her, especially now that she's home, she got kicked out of preschool. I think we mentioned that when potty trained. Y'all remember I talked about in the Holiday Strength Challenge a couple years ago about my Uncle Mike, who just pretended to have Alzheimer's and would pee on the couch so his sisters would let him go home whenever we had family gatherings. I think that's what Violet was doing. I don't think she liked her new school and just would pee on the carpet every single day until she got to come home. So that's where we are. I am the child care until the nanny shows up every day at 2. So rather than make promises I can't keep and disappoint, we're moving away from, at least for Sunburn, the live demonstrations. I will go live and do them when I can, as will the others, but we are going to have demonstrations up at least the night before. Can confirm 2 years pretend to have Alzheimer's. Yeah, that's good to know. That makes me feel better. Oh my God. Whew. But yeah, I think she did that on purpose. I think she's just sneaky. I think she knew what she wanted. Oh, if I pee, I get to go home. That's where we're at. So yeah, if you have any ideas or any suggestions, we are absolutely open and welcome to them. I know it definitely wasn't ideal the last time, and we learn as we go. But we're all doing the best. We're all going to do the best we can. We absolutely want to make sure this is a good experience. And if all of this feedback is good, it's important, tell me. Don't hesitate to email me or email any of the coaches at any time. You can always say what you feel and don't have to worry. Y'all know me, man. I don't retaliate. I take it seriously. And I know it wasn't ideal, and I'm grateful that you would even consider doing another program if, considering the experience before, got so much petered out so hard in the final week. But I am really excited about Sunburn, and so is everyone else. But the main reason I'm excited about Sunburn is the opportunity to have these office hours every week where I get to talk to everyone and reconnect again. I've missed you guys. I really, really have. And I feel like not just with where we are, society in the grand scheme of things is good, but also my mental health is in a really good place. So I'm not the sorts of calls I was having in office hours, say in May of 2017, and even, during the Kavanaugh hearings in October of 2018, there was just a turn where we were not talking about the running to absolutely we're not talking about the running, and we're not even having a conversation that I'm qualified to have. And there was no winning with that. So here, now that we're not in a great place, but the great collective fear has sort of settled down a bit, conversations can be a little less charged, a little more fun. And I can hopefully go back to doing that thing I do best and love doing more than anything else in the world. That's telling you how fucking fantastic you actually are day after day after day. So going to roll that out slowly, starting with everyone in Sunburn. But that's also a time where you can say things like, hey, this isn't working and you need to make a change. And I absolutely take it. And anything I can do, I will do. All right. Those are all the questions. I've got to go wash the stink off because having that baby sleep on top of me was lovely, but I'm sweating. And then I'm going to go to Mother's Day dinner. Yeehaw! You are coached, you are loved, and we're all winning at life if you don't have a little 2-year-old, 3-year-old peeing on the carpet at preschool because she would rather go home. It works, y'all. She's smart. That's how you know she's mine. She's going to get what she wants by hook or by crook, and hopefully you will too. Have a great week, everybody.